All right, well, happy Halloween, and welcome to a very special edition of Do You Know This Move? Halloween edition. As you can see, I am dressed as a green dinosaur in front of a green screen, so it's a little bit of a problem. If I try to actually remove my normal green screen, let's see what happens. It'll look like this. And now I'm a ghost dinosaur. Actually, that might be cool. Let's be a ghost dinosaur for Halloween. So come with me on this journey of Do You Know This Move? Anyway, I've got a board position set up here, and before let's first just show you the main area we're going to be focused on is going to be this top left quadrant. Essentially, these 6 stones. This is a fairly common formation. Often you might see this 4th line stone there and this 4th line stone there, but any of these orientations, any combination of those sort of 4 patterns are pretty common even among robot Go, and certainly been common in traditional human Go. So hopefully this doesn't look too foreign for you. We're gonna find a really interesting combination of 2 moves to analyze and talk about today. But before we dig in, let's just analyze the rest of the board and the rest of the board does make a little bit of difference here, but I just want to get everyone on the same page. So first, for white has some territory in the top right-hand corner. White also has this very solid-looking group over here, but even though it's solid, it's really not worth much, but it is keeping black basically at bay. This bottom left-hand corner, it looks like territory, but it is not yet. There's actually still a little bit of Aji here for black to exploit. Of course, black can't cut here directly, but that is a weakness. But black can definitely invade there directly, and can often play here for a Ko immediately without any support, but we're going to aim at this more directly with support. So we'll call this whitish, but it's whitish. I should make it like a dotted line or something. And then the big thing for white, we'll definitely make this a dotted line, is this sort of moyo that's building over here. It's still very thin. Black definitely has some key invasion points, but that's the biggest remaining potential for white, at least at the moment. For black, let's put this on an evil color, because hot pink is pretty evil. We have some cash in the lower left. We just have a little bit of something like territory moyo hybrid right here. It's definitely actually probably more in the moyo category, even though it's small. It's still just really potential because of the strength of this white group that's next door. Black does have a little bit of potential here, but this is very dotted line because it is open on both sides, undercut by white, so very hard to actually make points in here with it being so undercut. It's very likely that groups like this often more reach towards the center and find some center points or center influence or center attacking potential. And then we have, I'm going to use the dashed line here to highlight this top left-hand corner. And this might look like territory to more of the beginner intermediate players, but advanced players will know this formation is actually quite thin if white is strong on the outside. So you can see, just sort of looking at the combination of solid and dashed lines, we have 2 dashed groups next to each other. And indeed, these are the most sketchy, most weakness-prone, and pokeable groups on the board, and that's certainly where our attention is going to be focused because of all that. So that's how we get over here. Anyway, all that sort of lead up aside, it's black's move. We have to find an interesting move to, basically do something here, right? This is like we pointed out, the 2 biggest questions on the board right next door, white's question mark and black's question mark. What is the move? Take a minute to think and search and see what you come up with. And I'll tell you right off the bat that if you came up with, you can still keep searching and thinking, of course, while I'm talking. If you came up with this move, you're strong. This is a classic, great invasion point, right? Like this is like your 1Q invasion. And there's nothing wrong with this move. This is a very strong, good move. But it's not the best move, at least according to the robots. So, if you find this point, great. But we can do better. Let's take some other candidate options. Again, we already kind of pointed out this move. This is also a very nice move. It turns out if you put this position into a robot and let it run for a while, it'll basically analyze every single point from here to here on the second, third, and fourth line. Like it's just, and even some of the fifth line too. It's just looking at all these points, trying to find the best one. Just because, again, these 3 stones can be made weak, and these 3 black stones can be made weak. So anyway, drum roll please. The moment of truth for the first part of the sequence of Do You Know This Move is this one. And many of you have probably seen this before. This isn't the most uncommon shape. It's threatening actually 3 things all at once. And the first of which, of course, is to connect back to our group. And that's not a small threat, because imagine a world where we get to connect like this. Oh my gosh, that helps this corner territory so much in terms of its solidification. Before we actually had a lot of worries of invasions, and just this much helps a lot. Of course, it would help a lot more if we also had time to connect at the B15. That's the real weakness that's left. But still, that's a giant win for black, especially since there's still weaknesses in white's position. All right, so that's one possibility. Or one thing for black to do is basically just expand the corner while strengthening it. Second possibility is, let's say white comes down here, is for black to jump out and threaten to cut off this group of this stick of stones, and can also leap over here and settle. So I guess those are really the 2 things. And black will likely do a little bit of both of those if white cuts off in any sort of forceful manner, where black can run and settle inside of white's moyo, or cut off and fight with the white stick. Both of those are great results for black too. So this one stone we play has 3 great possibilities. One of the problems with if we approach on this side first is white is very likely to actually help out his corner, and this corner grows very fast and very strong very quickly with just a move or 2. And even though we have follow-ups, now, white doesn't care as much about this, right? White already got compensation, and so white can just focus all the attention on fighting and exploiting weaknesses and attacking this group out into the center for more profit. It's okay, like this is totally playable, but it feels a little bit like we're going to get pushed around a lot more in this while white already has more cash in hand. So it's still good. Like if you play this, there's nothing bad about this move. It's just the robots seem to like this one a little bit more because of the implications, the potential variations and implications for linking back up with this group. They might be saying, hey, but Nick, this is a fallacy, because what if white, cuts you off, right? And now this stone that we would so pleasantly link and enlarge our corner is no longer able to do that. Well, I say sort of. This stone is still going to give white problems. Like, we're still actually happy here, and our corner's still a little bit more solid than it was just a minute ago. So we're actually not unhappy here either as black. This is not, even though we didn't get to connect up, this is fine. Like we got an extra move in the corner, and we're still threatening to attack this very loose group of stones while eating up all the potential on the side. Still a fine result. So it turns out the best thing for white to do here is do none of those. And this is really the second half of the Do You Know This Move combination that's really exciting and really worthy of being our Halloween spooky Do You Know This Move edition. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry this video is getting out late. I suspect most of you won't watch it till after Halloween, and that's fine. Please enjoy it at your leisure. But the best move for white is the counter invasion. And like, oh my gosh, like isn't our house on fire? Don't go fishing. We have a house to defend. But it turns out this counterpunch works very well because as both players are getting their weaknesses exposed at the same time, black's weaknesses are a little, I don't want to say more severe, but they're just worth more. And so if we counterpunch for something for higher value, we can counterattack in this way. If, this corner wasn't worth as much, this corner was smaller, for instance, in terms of points, this would probably not be worth doing. But because we're willing to actually exchange, it's fine. So isn't that cool? Like, just behold this for a second. Black's going to make this very flexible invasion here, and the best move for white to counterpunch is to actually go behind enemy lines and invade directly. So cool. Right, totally just spits in black's eye of like what black was trying to do and link up and enlarge the corner. Just, do the whole Three Stooges thing. Just go poke them right there. Okay, so black has a couple choices here. The best one is this move. But first I want to show you what happens if black plays here. And also, and this hopefully explain why it's a little bit inferior. Many of you who have seen Joseki like this know that there's this Hane move next. If black blocks, white has a choice here, but the best move is to actually just take the cash in the corner. And white can Atari. Black could play this sort of old variation, but this just reduces black and basically solves all of white's problems. So it's a little... I mean, white is a little overconcentrated, but it's... I think white has other choices other than to play a slow move like this at this moment. Maybe even something like this, and just dare black to run out. Whereas white's gotten all these extra liberties and stones. So that's a little lackluster. Better move for black is to connect. White will take. White will get the corner, and black will push up. And at this point, white should still come back and sort of solidify the left. These two stones are not dead. They can run out, but it's not an easy group to. It's not as easy as a group to run out as you might think. In part because black has this descend here to threaten Ko for the corner at any time. So, normally when we want to run out a group, we want to have severe attacks on both sides, right? If we're really weak, we want to be able to attack this and attack this. But this is really more of, after this move, if white has to respond again in the corner, this is not a very strong attack against either side yet. White has to work really hard to get strong enough to do so. It's still possible. But I want to remind you all it's black's move. So if white defends here, it's black's move, and black can also run out. There's still eye space over here. Black clearly may have some eye space here. White has to do some very nimble things in order to get an advantage, or just have some friends nearby. And again, with black being the person with the next move, that's very unlikely to happen. But all that aside, this is still good for white. So even though I know I just talked up black for the last 30 seconds, this is still a good result for white because, again, the corner points are now white. There's not a whole lot of them. They're now white. White got to play another move to help solidify the left, and there is Aji. So essentially white gets three things. Black might get to kill this Aji. That's one thing, and has a little bit of influence on both. So that's like 2.5 things maybe total. It just feels like white got a good deal. So let's rewind and take a look at the alternative and see how black can get something better. And it's not by blocking here, but instead by actually connecting. So this is very similar in certain ways, or at least we're asking the same kind of questions. White has a cornerstone that's still threatening to live, and black's connecting out and threatening to attack, these 2 or even 3 stones. After we play this move, the best move for white is to actually stay solid and just don't let black cut through here and attack everything. Just basically pressure everything. This is our best move. There's a couple good sequences here. The first one, and perhaps the most natural one, is for black to take this wedge, totally solidify that connection, and then white has to capitalize now on the corner, right? This is like one of those situations where if one person takes one side, the other person has to take the other. So black's going to solidify this side, ergo white's next move has to be over here. White can get pushed around with moves like this, but you can see that white's never really in any danger. White is totally alive, either there or coming out. And I think black's next move is here. Maybe black can play there. I should look that up. Not sure which one's better, actually. Pretty much, you just, I think, feel it's much better for black overall than the previous variation. But, again, white can give this up, and white has some flexibility here. There's kind of this weird Ko, but there's also can just descend like this. Hold on one second. All right, we're back. I am having a few interruptions from some other people who are in the house. I apologize if that's coming up on the microphone. I think our levels are good enough so that it's not. Anyway, at this point, we just looked at the possibility of black going here, this is a good sequence. But black has an alternative good sequence here. And in this case, white's response is to wedge and connect. And black basically has to play a move over here. And, white can solve, can finish the shape here, essentially, something like this. And this is black's original intention, right? Black got to solidify the corner, totally, cut into white's territory. White got a little bit stronger, but this area is still open and still has some potential for invasion and reduction. So neither side is unhappy, but this particular line meets black's original idea, probably the cleanest or quickest. Oops, I didn't want to remove that branch. I want to just erase all the colored pen. So what else can white do here? Well, not a lot, it turns out, actually. Basically, every option isn't great for white after this move. Again, this really is the best option. And I'm not saying that any of these variations for black are terrible for white, but after this move is just killer, right? This is just a drive your advantage home move. It's one of those ways we can use our 3 stones against white's sort of weakish 3 stones, most directly ask the hardest questions. And, white's responses are fine, but they're not, they're white doesn't have this, all roads point to Rome sort of thing. All these positions sort of lead to slight advantages for black. And I mean slight, these are pretty slight, but still, I want to make that clear. So, there you are. We can play here just for sort of a clean variation. And of course, black can wedge here for a slightly messier variation, which is pretty neat. But again, if we play with this one, we are giving white actually more choices, because white doesn't have to take the corner. Again, no one's unhappy. Everybody's happy in all these variations. Even that last one we played in this cleaner variation, when black comes here, white doesn't have to come back here immediately, of course. Even just play there. White is still getting cash and solid and remaining strong. Basically, black's is fixing a weakness. So everyone gets something, right? I think that's my point, and I'm taking a very convoluted way to say that. This is one of those rare circumstances where, one player invades, the other person counter-invades. I mean, I guess that's not that rare. That does happen. Maybe it's rare for, queue and low-down games where everybody's fine, right? Everything works out after an invasion and counter-invasion. So, anyway, did you know this move? First of all, this one, and then this counter-invasion to sort of find enough Aji to deal with it. I thought that was pretty cool. Saw that in a game, so thought I'd share it with you. Happy Halloween. I will return to drinking more wine and playing Go sometime next week or two. I think the general reaction about those videos has been mixed, but I've just been having fun doing it. So how do I stop at this point? I think we will be doing some Cabernet Sauvignon next, which is the #1 most planted grape in the world. So you'll definitely want to come hear my thoughts about that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Happy Halloween. Again, I'm sorry this video didn't get posted earlier in time for the holiday, but better late than never. Thanks.